Hello everyone, I am here to discuss the most important current affairs of today from UPSC perspective. Today's articles have been taken from The Hindu, PIB and The Indian Express. So without a further ado, let's begin. The first article has been taken from PIB, which states that the central government has increased the capacity of rice fortification in the country. So we need not mug up the amount of rice or other values, but we do need to learn about rice fortification. So rice fortification basically means the enrichment of rice with essential micronutrients post-harvesting to increase its nutritional value. Why do we do rice fortification? So in our country, rice fortification is being done to address anemia and micronutrient deficiency in the country. So let us have a look at the complete news. So the government of India has approved a sponsored pilot scheme on the fortification of rice and its distribution under the Public Distribution System or PDS for a period of 3 years beginning in 2019-20 with a total outlay of Rs 174.64 crore. The Niti Aayog also, in its strategy for New India at 75, has suggested a mandatory fortification of staples and to incorporate fortified food grains in government programs. It is currently being implemented in 6 states, which are Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh. So basically, Odisha and Kerala will be joining very soon. Fortification of rice is cost effective as well as a complementary strategy to increase the vitamin and mineral content in diets and a step towards nutritional security and to fight anemia and malnutrition prevailing in the country. This strategy has been proven fruitful for many countries across the world. It may be noted that in India, 58.5% of the young children aged 6 to 59 months and 53% of the women within the reproductive age group and 22.7% of all the men aged 15 to 49 suffer from anemia. This is as per the National Family Health Survey version 4 of 2015 and 16. This is a list of crops which have been biofortified in our country: cassava, maize, sweet potato, beans, pearl millet, and of course, rice and wheat. The next article talks about the Supreme Court ruling which has called the Centre to ensure countrywide implementation of the One Nation, One Ration Card scheme by July 31st. It has also called upon the Centre as well as the state governments to create a portal for migrant workers in collaboration with NIC, which is the National Informatics Center. So let us read about the ONORC scheme. So ONORC or One Nation One Ration Card scheme will ensure all beneficiaries, especially migrants, can access PDS or public distribution system across the nation from any PDS shop of their own choice. So earlier, the access to the PDS was domicile based. That means you can only access the public distribution system of the town in which you belong. But now the beneficiaries can have access to the food grains across the country. Let us have a look at the highlights of the scheme. The poor migrant workers will be able to buy subsidized rice and wheat from any ration shop in the country, but for that their ration cards must be linked to their Aadhaar card. Migrants would only be eligible for the subsidies supported by the centre, which include 3 rupees per kg rice and wheat at rupees 2 per kg. It would not include subsidies given by their respective state government in some other state. So who all are eligible under the scheme? So any citizen who is declared below poverty line will be eligible. The beneficiaries will be identified on the basis of their Aadhaar based identification through the electronic point of sale or POS device. All the PDS shops will have the facility of POS devices. So the One Nation One Ration Card scheme comes under the NFSA or the National Food Security Act. So let us have a look at it. The National Food Security Act of 2013 was notified on 10th of September 2013. Its objective is to provide food and nutritional security to all. The coverage is 75% of the rural population, 50% of the urban population, and a total of 67% of the national population. It provides subsidized food grains under the Targeted Public Distribution System or TPDS. Let us have a quick look at the provisions of the NFSA. So 5 kg of food grains per person per month at rupees 3, 2 and 1 per kg for rice, wheat and co-skins respectively. The existing AAY household will continue to receive 35 kgs of food grains per household per month. So AAY is Antodaya Anna Yojana. The third is that the meal and maternity benefit of not less than rupees 6,000 to pregnant women and lactating mothers during pregnancy and 6 months after the childbirth. This point is important. This may not look related to the food aspect of the NFSA, but is definitely a part of the security aspect of the NFSA. The meals for children up to 14 years of age. Food security allowance to beneficiaries in case of non-supply of entitled food grains or meals. And the last one, setting up of grievance redressal mechanisms at the district as well as the state levels. The next news piece mentions that India has got the Asia's longest and the world's 5th longest high-speed track for automobiles. So NATRAX is the name of the track. It is a high-speed track in Indore, which is the longest such track in Asia. NATRAX is developed in an area of 1000 acres. It will be used for automobile testing. It can be used for various vehicles from two-wheelers to even the heavy tractor trailers. The next article is about the G20 Foreign Ministerial Meet which happened in Matera in Italy. Some important points from the article are that India will hold the presidency of G20 in 2022. The article talks about the discussion on waiver of certain TRIPS provisions for vaccines. So let us know about TRIPS first. So TRIPS stands for Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. The TRIPS agreement was negotiated in 1995 at the WTO. It requires all its signatory countries to enact a domestic law. It guarantees minimum standards of intellectual property protection. Such legal consistency enables innovators to monetize their intellectual property in multiple countries. So this is a list of G20 countries. India is a member, China is also a member, the United States is also a member, France, European Union, UK. Then wherever Australia is a member, New Zealand is also a member, but in this case, only Australia is a member. So do memorize the name of all the G20 countries. So let us know about the TRIPS waiver that was being discussed in the Foreign Ministerial Meet that happened in Italy. So in October 2020, India and South Africa had asked the WTO to waive certain conditions of the trade-related aspects of intellectual property or the TRIPS agreement that could impede timely access to affordable medical products to combat COVID-19. In 2001, the WTO signed the Doha Declaration, which clarified that in a public health emergency, governments could compel companies to license their patents to manufacturers even if they did not think the offered price was acceptable. This provision, commonly referred to as the compulsory licensing, was already built into the TRIPS agreement and the Doha Declaration only clarified its usage. So the benefits of the TRIPS waiver can be that lifting the legal restriction on the manufacturing of the COVID-19 vaccines. But we must also know that it will not solve the problem of the lack of access to technological know-how related to the manufacturing of the vaccines. So waiving the intellectual property protection only gives us the right to manufacture the vaccines, but does not impose a legal requirement on the pharmaceutical companies to transfer or share the technology. Therefore, the governments would have to be proactive in negotiating and cajoling the pharmaceutical companies to transfer the technology using various legal and policy tools, including financial incentives. The next article states that the Ethiopia's Tigray rebels have taken over their regional capital, which is Mekelle. So the article is not very important, but we must be able to locate Ethiopia and Tigray on the map of the world. In the past, UPSC has often asked questions about the location of particular places in news. So this is the African continent, and on this part, which is the Horn of Africa, is the Ethiopia, and in the northern part of Ethiopia, we have Tigray. So a conflict has broken out between Ethiopia and Tigray. Let us have a look at the Horn of Africa countries. The Horn of Africa basically includes Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Somalia. So there are 4 countries in Horn of Africa. Just remember it. So in the economy section of both the Hindu and the Indian Express, nothing much was relevant today, but there was a headline in which Sri Lanka said that we are expecting the currency swaps from India. So recently, Sri Lanka had undertaken a currency swap agreement with Bangladesh. And now it is expecting India to enter into a currency swap with them. So let us understand what currency swaps are and how they work. The word swap basically means exchange. A currency swap between two countries is an agreement or contract to exchange currencies with predetermined terms and conditions. Here it is important to note that currency swaps can take place between countries or companies. So for countries, it is their central banks, in India's case, which is the RBI. So basically the central banks are the one which maintain the forex reserves. So central banks and governments engage in currency swaps with foreign counterparts to meet short-term foreign exchange liquidity requirements or to ensure adequate foreign currency to avoid balance of payment crisis till longer arrangements can be made. So in the case of Sri Lanka, it is suffering from a balance of payment crisis. So why is Sri Lanka opting for a currency swap rather than taking the money from the market? For Sri Lanka, this is cheaper than borrowing from the market as it struggles to maintain adequate forex reserves even as repayment of its external debt looms. So why currency swaps are practiced? These swaps operations carry no exchange rate or other market risks because the terms and conditions are set in advance. Exchange rate risk, also known as currency risk, is the financial risk arising from fluctuations in the value of a base currency against a foreign currency. So the SAARC countries can make use of the currency swap facility that came into operation on 15th of November 2012. The revised framework is valid from 14th November 2019 to 2022. The RBI can offer a swap arrangement within the overall corpus of $2 billion. Basically, Sri Lanka is asking for $1 billion of currency swap. The swap drawals can be made in US dollars, euro or Indian rupee. The framework provides certain concessions for swap drawals in Indian rupee. The facility will be available to all the SAARC member countries, subject to their signing the bilateral swap agreements. So earlier, it was a presumption that only India, which is the regional group's largest economy, could do currency swaps. But in April, even Bangladesh did a currency swap with Sri Lanka and showed its economic muscle. Let us read about the balance of payment in order to understand the balance of payment crisis. Balance of payment of a country can be defined as a systematic statement of all economic transactions of a country with the rest of the world during a specific period, usually 1 year. Overall, the balance of payment account can be surplus or a deficit. If the reserves are falling short, then the scenario is known as a balance of payment crisis. So basically we use the foreign currency for any kinds of imports and foreign transactions or the debts that we have taken internationally. Once our forex exchange reserves are falling, the country is said to be in a balance of payment crisis. It can be falling for multiple reasons. One could be that your exports are less and your imports are more, or you have borrowed too much, etc. Let us look at the components of balance of payment. So it consists of current account and capital account. So the current account shows the export and import, which can be visibles as well as invisibles. The visibles can be the goods and the invisibles include the services as well as transfer payments. The capital account shows a capital expenditure and the income of a country. It gives a summary of the net flow of both private and public investment into the economy. That means the FDI, FPI, etc. are all a part of the capital account. So let us do some revision questions regarding the topics that we have discussed today. Rice fortification refers to storing rice in fortified granaries, spraying insecticides on rice seeds itself, increasing nutritional value of rice, or increasing the amount of rice in one's diet. So the correct answer is option C. Which of the following is true about G20 and G7 countries? All the G7 members are G20 countries. India is both a G7 and G20 country. So this one is false because India is not a member of the G7 but a member of G20. G7 was earlier G8 but India was expelled in 2014. So this statement is partially correct and partially wrong Because yes, G7 was G8 earlier, but not India. It was Russia which was expelled in 2014 because it acquired Crimea. Option D says India was the host of G7 2021. This one is wrong because it was UK and it invited India as a guest to attend the G7 meeting. So the correct option is option A. All the G7 members are also the countries in the G20. Next question says, which of the following is not a part of Horn of Africa? So we read about the Horn of Africa, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia and Ethiopia. So Kenya was nowhere in the picture. Kenya is not a part of Horn of Africa. The next question is from UPSC 2012 prelims paper. It was a controversial question because none of the options fit the picture of balance of payment. Let us have a look at it. So the balance of payments of a country is a systematic record of what? Options are given. All imports and exports transactions of a country during a period of time, normally a year. The goods exported from a country during the year. Economic transactions between the government of one country to another and the capital movements from one country to another. So option B is eliminated straight away because the goods exported from a country during a year, that does not sound right. It is not balance of payment. It is basically your exports. So this one is false. Option C says the economic transactions between the government of one country and another. So that also does not mean balance of payment. Option D is also eliminated because capital movements from one country to another can be a part of the balance of payment, but definitely not the whole balance of payment. Option A, let us analyze the option A. All imports and export transactions of a country during a given period of time, normally a year. Basically, by the bookish definition, this is the balance of trade and not the balance of payment. So balance of trade and balance of payment are two different things. Balance of trade is actually the net of your imports and exports. It is a part of the balance of payment, but definitely not the whole balance of payment. But the UPSC official answer key has said that option A is the correct answer. But for your remembrance, just know that balance of trade is a part of balance of payment and not the whole balance of payment itself. This diagram, you can take a screenshot. This will make things very clear. The balance of payment basically includes the current account as well as the capital account. The current account consists of balance of trade, transfer payments, and income from abroad. So this is our question of the day. Which of the following is the nodal ministry for the implementation of One Nation, One Ration Card scheme? So if you know the answer, do write in the comment section. That's all for today. Keep studying hard. The prelims is round the corner. Thank you so much.